I mean, what can I say that hasn't already been said about Don wrong? I mean, I guess we can start with the obvious. He's a fucking idiot. Like, he's a very dumb person, and he's super prideful. I mean, the way he acts kind of reminds me of like my aunt. She passed away like a little less than a year ago. When she was alive, we used to like argue sometimes and stuff, and she would make points, and I would counter her points with what I thought was right. And from her perspective, we were just wrong, or I was just wrong all the time, right? So she would use this phrase that kind of reminds me of Donald Trump, and it embodies a lot of what we see in public when we look at what's happening in the White House, right? She would say something. It was like this, like, I'd argue with her, and she'd be like, "So you want to be wrong and strong?" Like that's what she used to say, and it was like, to me, that reminds me so much of Donald Trump because he doesn't know anything. He has no desire to learn. He's intellectually lazy, and he's wrong about a lot because he just doesn't know shit, right? So he would just be wrong and strong pretty much. He would just hop in the wrong car and then ride it until the wheels fall off. No matter what happens, he'll never admit he's wrong, right? And when the wheels do fall off, because they're gonna fall off because you're doing the wrong thing, the wheels fall off and he blames everybody else. So that in a nutshell is what a lot of what we see going on in the White House right now, right? And I mean, and that term, you want to be wrong and strong, like that thing my aunt used to say, what that speaks to is pride and ego, right? When someone's telling you that you're wrong and you have so much ego, so much pride that you're just like, no. Not only are you not going to admit it, but you're going to purposefully keep going in the wrong direction, trying to get some kind of win out of it because you're a fucking narcissist, Mr. Trump. Um, I mean, it's annoying. It's freaking annoying to watch. And up is down and down is up. This political climate is so crazy. All right. So speaking more to his lack of intellect, there were some stories that came out early in his presidency. I remember when they basically, every president needs to see intelligence briefings, right? So you have a intelligence briefings. They either do it over the phone or they give you documents to read, right? And they're important because they update the president on what's going on in the world and things that have changed in intelligence gathering and new information, things of that nature. Super important, obviously, right? So this guy comes in and he says, I don't need the whole report because I'm like a smart person. First of all, when someone uses the phrase, I'm like a smart person, you know already. You just know that they're dumb. Right? And get that out of the way. So he says he's like a smart person, and he has this thing with this grandiosity about him, like this unearned greatness that he put on himself, because like who the fuck else? You know what I'm saying? No one gave you that, bro. You ain't earned that. You just say that shit, right? But yeah, and he thinks that he doesn't need anything that the average person would need in his position because he's a cut above the rest. When in reality, he needs, not only does he need those things, but he needs a lot more. So with the intelligence briefings, he decided to ask them to shorten the briefings and put a whole lot of pictures in them because he's lazy and he doesn't want to read, and he's the president. But anyway. Also, there was a time when he was doing those meetings, those sit-downs with Kim Jong-un, and that was like a super momentous time in American history. It's literally us starting diplomatic relations with a country that's been tied off for decades from us, right? For generations. So he gets in there and, they ask him, what's your plans? What's your strategy? How are you going to get across to Kim Jong-un? How will you know that he's being honest? And, you guys can really, like, how are you going to find that common ground, more or less, right? And his answer was, I'm going to look him in his eyes and I'll know. He's going to look him in his eyes. You see, that's the interesting thing about being intellectually lazy and stupid and having a lot of pride. You just kind of invent things that will substitute for your lack of wanting to do the right thing and learn the right thing, right? You're lazy, so you don't want to learn the right thing. But you're going to come up with these things like, oh, I don't need those things because I'm a cut above the rest, right? No, what that is a defense of your laziness is what that is. So I want to kind of talk about the more substantive issues that Trump has, things that maybe affect us in a more direct way. When he was running for president, he claimed to be this outsider, right? This guy that didn't take any money, any of the corrupting money of influence. The corrupting influence of money in politics didn't affect him because he self fundraises because he's a rich guy. They released an article and I was looking for it today because I want to have that reference, but I couldn't find it. But I remember reading an article, I think like a year and a half ago, that was talking about how basically he went to like a popular Republican bundler or person that assists a candidate in raising funds. He went to him and said, hey, help me raise some money, right? Like, you're that guy, so help me raise some money. Now, the guy was a smart person, so he didn't take Donald Trump seriously when he came asking him to raise money for him. And he kind of just wanted to get Donald Trump out of his office after a while because, the meeting wasn't going anywhere and he wasn't going to help raise money for this idiot guy, right? Because he's a smart person. So what he kind of just, in order to shoo Donald Trump off, he told him, okay, you don't need to raise any money. Just say that, you're self-funded and that'll help people. That'll make people vote for you. So in essence, in order to get rid of Donald Trump from that meeting, the guy basically gave Donald Trump his primary strategy at least. And he would go out there and say, oh, all these guys are corrupt. I'm the only one that's not. And that to me is important because it speaks to the mood that the country's in, because that helped him a lot in the early goings of his campaign. People were like, hey, these other guys take a lot of money, and look at this guy. He's setting himself apart, right? Kind of similar to Bernie Sanders and the progressive movement, which is interesting. We're going to have that discussion too at some point. But what that speaks to, and this is what I want to get across, America is in a populist mood. When they're going to elect an idiot, an obvious idiot, an overt idiot, right? Just because he claimed to not take money from the same people. That shows you that they're willing to go really low in order to get just someone who comes across as a straight shooter. Someone who seems to have pure intent, right? Which he obviously doesn't, but he's good at selling himself, etc. That's the best thing he can do is marketing. That's it. Everything else he's terrible at, right? But yeah, like it speaks to the fact that the American people were so galvanized by him is because of that he had that populist energy. This guy came out and said that he will not cut Social Security, he will not cut Medicare. That's what he said when he was campaigning. Everyone else on the stage was like, okay, we gotta cut these programs, So what does that tell you? Does that tell you that American people are leftist? I guess so, because hey, not cutting Social Security, that's a leftist thing. Every Republican wants to cut that shit, right? Or at least a Democrat thing. Maybe not a leftist thing, but a Democrat thing. Yeah, we're going to maintain these programs. So, I mean, and I find that super interesting in and of itself. Like, he's just really good at reading crowds. He's really good at understanding what people want and wherever he is and just giving and saying what they want to hear. And that's in essence what he did. And none of the other Republicans could find nothing on him. Really nothing on him. If you watch those debates, it was embarrassing. They were getting, like, smashed by this dude, Donald Trump. And it's not because he's good or, he just knows how to talk and he knows how to sell himself. That's 100% of who he is, right? I mean, he claimed that, and it's an issue that I talk about too on this show. He claims that he wanted to have America negotiate for drug prices. Because like I said, one of the reasons why drug prices are so expensive in this country, the same drugs, like you get a drug for $300 here that'll cost $5 in let's say Canada, right? The reason why you have that is because it's literally illegal in this country, and I want to stress this, it's illegal for the government to negotiate for drug prices on behalf of the citizens of this country because of cronyism, because of corruption. That's another discussion. But it's something that I talked about on this show. Donald Trump was basically campaigning on that issue, saying that, it only makes sense for Medicare or for a representative of the people, the government, to negotiate for cheaper drug prices on behalf of the people. It only makes sense, right? So he came out there saying that stuff. When he got elected into office, he had one sit-down meeting with a pharma lobbyist, a big pharma lobbyist. He changed his mind, just like that. So that's another interesting, I guess, note about Donald Trump. He has no ideology. He just goes with whatever's right, whatever he can get the most credit for doing. That's what he goes with, because he's a narcissist. He has nothing inside here. He's probably a soulless. So I remember also when Donald Trump was promoting those middle class tax cuts that he signed at the end of 2017, December 2017, and he promoted them as these great tax cuts that'll favor the middle class and lift the burden off the middle class and you know, help the middle class live a better life, right? They're paying less taxes, right? It still turns out that some organizations, including PolitiFact, have looked into it, and they've confirmed, yes, the majority of those middle class tax cuts actually go to the top 1%. Now, the figure to which it goes to the top 1% is still being jostled around. They don't really know yet. It's something in between 70 and 80% of those tax cuts that he claimed were for the middle class went to the top 1%. So he's a game player, and of the worst kind, because he claims to be on that fighting for the middle class, like straight up, and he people believe him. And then time after time, you see these examples where he's just, not only is he one of the other ones, but he's also dumber too. Like, he probably doesn't even understand what he's doing in these positions where he's making these decisions and signing these bills. I highly doubt that he knows what's going on. Maybe 90% of the time. But anyway, he's an idiot. We already went through that. So when it comes to these tax cuts, people were filing their 2018 returns this year, and you got a wave of Trump voters who took to Twitter and actually talked about how their tax burden went up. They were able to deduct less. So the amount that they're paying on their taxes goes up. So, I mean, we have example after example. So I want to get into this because we have example after example of Trump being caught in lies. And we still have this like something from 30 to, on a really good day, 40% of the country that likes him. I mean, he has a base of at least 30% of Americans that are behind him consistently through all the nonsense, right? And I kind of want to speak on why I think that is. They're so turned off by the system. Yes, a lot of them are racist. A lot of them are idiots. Like let's just be real. Like, voters are great, but a lot of them are fucking idiots if you're going to vote for that guy. But, no, like, they're so fed up with the system, I think. They're so fed up with the country and with the leadership of the country that they're willing to gamble it all on this idiot. Now, Donald Trump won by about, he lost the popular vote. But because he won particular states, he was able to become president due to the electoral college system that we have in this country. So he won literally because of like 76,000 votes between about 3 states or something like that. So these are the people that are just so sick of the system, and they can be reached. Now, I think I have an idea of how we can do that, and I'm gonna discuss that. But before I get there, it speaks his existence and the fact that this person who's so obviously underqualified, obviously an idiot, like a monkey could do this fucking job better than him, highly likely, right? Because everyone will just do what they gotta do when it's without him getting in the way and fucking with shit, right? But anyway, they just have to keep the monkey in diapers. We figure this shit out. But yeah, like a lot of these people, they're really turned off by the system, and they just want to just throw a rock into it. Just throw a rock into the window. Fuck you guys. We're done with it. And we have a huge divide in this country, and people always talk about it, and it is very, very true. We're united, I think, on a lot of issues, but there are just certain things that just divide us. The way we view the world is like just super different. And I'll say the reason why Trump was able to beat someone who was obviously more qualified, like someone in Hillary Clinton, right? Even though I wasn't a fan of hers, she's obviously more qualified. Why does a person like Trump even have a shot in that election? Why? Because they're sick of the shit, and Hillary Clinton is pretty much the shit. And I don't mean that in a positive way. Pejorative like a motherfucker, right? So, yeah, like, they're just sick of it. And they saw an opportunity in him, and he failed. But he just has a good way of marketing himself, and people just maintains that at least 30% of the country that supports him. At least he bottoms out at about 30, maybe a little higher than 30. So what we have to do, I think, as people that dislike Trump, right, and are interested in electoral politics, we have to engage with those with Pennsylvania. We can win Pennsylvania back. In fact, Trump is losing in a lot of those states that he won in because those people, you know, they're interesting voters, right? I think they can be reached. Whereas you have those crazy people who are just racist, and no matter what Trump does, like he can literally shoot a person, what did he say, on Fifth Avenue, and he wouldn't go to jail and nothing would happen to him. There are those people that applies to. Yes, he can just shoot a motherfucker on Fifth Avenue and ain't nothing gonna happen. But for the people that aren't those people, they can be reached. Bernie Sanders. Listen, Bernie speaks the same message and speaks to exactly the issues that those states that voted for Trump in a protest against Hillary, more or less, and also because they just didn't like her. Yeah. Bernie Sanders' message is tailor-made for those people. What they're going through is joblessness. What they're going through is not having access to health care. Bernie's talking about federal job guarantees. And part of that, part and parcel with that is the New Deal, right? Like a New Deal philosophy. That's where the Green New Deal comes from. Giving people jobs to set up a green economy for the future. That's what they need. They need healthcare, Medicare for all, guarantees healthcare to everyone, and we pay less. We pay less. So, I mean, we just have to get through that noise. Because the media and the world we live in is a lot of noise. There are connections that can be made. We just have to try. We just have to try, more or less, you know? And I think that Bernie Sanders' message can resonate with these people, and they are. I mean, if you look at back I mean, Bernie Sanders was leading Hillary Clinton by leaps and bounds in hypothetical matchups between her and between Donald Trump and each of those candidates, Hillary Clinton and Bernie. When Hillary Clinton was struggling to stay 3 points ahead of him in polling, Bernie was comfortably 10 to 12 points ahead of Trump in polling, hypothetical polling, right? And especially in these states where, like, we're talking Pennsylvania, you're talking Michigan, right? These are like Rust Belt states where Trump basically swept, and these are states that Hillary should have won. She should have won. So Bernie has the right message, and he has the right policy that'll help them, those voters. And we just have to do what we can to clear that messaging way. And that's what Bernie has to do. It's really his job. It's not ours per se, unless you work on his campaign or whatever, right? But yeah, he just has to get through it. I think he's getting through. Bernie did a speech recently where he was talking about an economic New Deal. Now, these messages resonate. Why? Because people are, you know, the majority of Americans have a median income, yearly income of $30,000. Like a $400 emergency would knock most Americans out, and they'd have to go into debt or something, or like serious debt, right? People are going through economic struggles right now. If you're not speaking that economic message and speaking to what will directly help them, what are you really doing? And Bernie is doing that. He's speaking directly to those issues. And those are the issues that they're going to vote on. The people in those Rust Belt states. That's what they're going to vote on. So Donald Trump is a fucking loser. I can come up with example after example. And, you know, during this show, I'm definitely going to come up with a couple more, I'm sure. Dude, this guy thinks that stealth planes turn invisible. Listen to him talk about stealth planes. He's like, you can't see them. You can't see them. Bro, it's invisible to radar, bro. Radar can't pick them up because they're paneled in a certain way, you idiot. They're visible, you idiot. They don't cloak, you dummy.